Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Cardinal Brandt deck profile for May 2021. With the release of Genesis of the Five Greats, we were given another deck for the Brandt world, focusing more on the Link Joker-like type of cards, being the Cardinal monsters. Their main focus as well is more or less not a lock playstyle like the Link Joker cards the Star Vaders used to play off of, but more a playstyle that focuses on the set world orders, which are basically cards that stay set in the order zone and then benefit basing on what type of world you have on the field at the time when you use your different Cardinal monsters. And then also with our main unit Cardinal Deus Orphis, focusing on calling out the Shadow Army tokens, just a beefed up powered unit that can be summoned pretty easily depending on if your world is World Abyssal Dark Knight on the field or not. And I'm very, very happy with the results of the deck. It's a very interesting deck at that, and like I said, for those of you looking to build more of the Link Joker-like type of deck based on the art style, this is definitely the one to go for. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, starting off with our starter is Cardinal Fang Fovi. This is just your go-to starter in the deck, focusing on the art style, of course, but also just when wrote upon, if you went second, drawing a card. For the grade 1, we're running Cardinal Node Rotis. When this card is placed on Vanguard, you search your deck for up to one, world a card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So it's search power altogether. It's going to be your ideal ride target in the deck, basing just on the fact that it searches out what the main play style is, and that is setting up your set world orders in the order zone for you to use. And our grade 2 unit in the ride deck is Cardinal Node Kubisaya. With this one, when a world is put into your world order zone, choose one of your units and it gets plus 5,000 until end of turn. It doesn't specify rear guards. You can even give Cardinal Node the plus 5,000 power, so a big boost in power there for sure as well. With the last of the ride deck being Cardinal Deus Orphis itself. And the intended setup for the deck altogether is just to basically have your world order set up when you go through the entire ride deck and then ready to go, and hopefully having the second world order needed to set up the initial play in the deck altogether. With that setup being the main focus for Orphis as the ride target, so then you can set up your Persona ride as well later on with all these cards, and then go from there with all the other additional Brandt cards to have more setup on the field altogether. For the additional grade 3s, we are running 3 more of the Cardinal Deus Orphis. Now, the one thing I'm missing is just an additional copy, so I have one Lightning Thief monster, Jebetail, in the spot for the one additional card, and just working more off the fact that if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, when this unit will attack, it battles all the units in your opponent's column. So pretty good for the backup. It might even be just an additional grade 3 to run if you wanted to cut down on some of the, let's say, grade 1 counts in the deck as well. I can show you what cards to take out for additional numbers for it, but with the ride deck being the main focus, you don't really have to run too many other grade 3s for the setup, relying on your grade 2s and 1s, and also the Shadow Army tokens that we call out with Cardinal Orphis on the field to rely on most of the attacks and setup we have. For the grade 2 units in the deck, I am also running 3 additional Cardinal Noid Kubisaya. With this card on rear during your turn, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, it gets plus 5,000 power. So with it, you have the option just for another power boost card, since you should always have your world set up, since the grade 1 search with your Cardinal Noid Rutis can basically search out the card when you ride into it. And also for the fact that you have that setup, gives you more of a boosted power if you have Kubisaya on the rear guard with a boost from the Shadow Army token for a total power of 30,000 to your opponent with this card. If you didn't want to run this card as the additional numbers, the grade 3 spot can also be taken up by just additional numbers of Lightning Thief monster, in addition for taking out some of the Kubisaya in the grade 2 slot. For the other grade 2 that we run in the deck, I also run 4 of the Polar Cold Monster Drumler. When this unit is placed on rear, if your world is Abyssal Dark Knight, you counterblast 1, soul blast 1, and draw a card. So just draw power. You should always have this world set order on the field ready to go. So this is just a card that helps you for draw consistency. It's a rear guard only, but you have your ride target basically figured out anyway with the ride deck all together. So no need for additional, fear of what you ride into. It's just going to be there for that draw power and a guaranteed draw just with the Counterblast and the Soul Blast. And for that, you just have to rely on Counterblast for calling out your Shadow Army tokens with your Orphis. So being able to get 3 of them onto the field with this card is just another added bonus, giving you free units on the field for your back row to use, or even just the front row, since it is a 15,000 power token. And that is it for the grade 2s. Moving on now to the grade 1s. I'm also running 4 Violate Dragon. It's the Sentinel for the deck. I've gone over it with other profiles, but for those who don't know, the new Sentinel specifies when this unit is put on guard circle, choose one of your units, and it cannot be hit until end of battle. If your hand has 2 or more cards, choose a card from your hand and discard it. So if you place this card on guard and the only other card you have in your hand is another Sentinel, you don't have to discard that Sentinel for the cost of this card, saving the last one in your hand for you to use as a final guard against your opponent, being able to block 2 of their attacks without having to risk, just losing all your resources in your hand to one guard, using the other perfect guard for the other Sentinel. And for additional grade 1s in the deck, I also run 4 Useful Recharger. When this unit is put on guard circle, counterblast 1. If your world is Dark Knight, that unit gets plus 5,000 shield until end of turn. If it's Abyssal Dark Knight, it gets plus 10,000 until end of turn. So with the world cards, it all comes down to what card you activate first for the resolution in your world order zone. So with this card, it's just a good guard option for that setup, and you need to have 2 world zones to set up the Abyssal Dark Knight, and we are running basically 2 to run for that setup. So you should, early game, have the 10,000 shield that Useful Recharger will rely on as just a good card to go up against your opponent and blocking attacks. For some of the other grade 1s in the deck, I also run the 3 Detonation Mutants, Robo Mime. With this one, at the end of the battle, boosted. If your order zone has a set order, put it into a soul and countercharge 1. Now, I even considered running 4 of this card. If it were to be that option, you can take out the last grade 1 I am running, which is just 1 Cardinal Noi Rotis as an added rearguard option. When an attack is boosted, if your world is Dark Knight or Abyssal Dark Knight, it gets plus 2,000. Putting it at a 4 number count, but if you didn't want to run an additional number of Oval Mine, you can also put in additional numbers of the Lightning Thief monster Japatal as a grade 3 option, just to have more retire options against your opponent's columns. But player preference there, I might even just go for the 4 number count for this grade 1, just having all that countercharge power, since Orphis does need a Counterblast 2 to resolve the 3 Shadow Army tokens on the field. And that is it for the grade 1s. We'll now move on to the world set orders. So for those of you who don't know, these are just, once again, just kind of familiar to the normal orders, but these ones stay set in the order zone, with 4 of them being in the darkness. Nobody knows. After this card is set and played, it's put into your order zone, and it stays there. You play this card with a Soul Blast of 1. When this card is put into the order zone, choose one of your opponent's front row rear guards and retire it. And also from the order zone, if your order zone only has world cards, the following effects are activated according to the number of cards in your order zone. If it's 1, your world becomes Dark Knight. If it's 2 or more cards, your world becomes Abyssal Dark Knight. So you want that Abyssal Dark Knight setup more for the actual intended setup for a good number of your different cards in the deck, needing Abyssal Dark Knight for Orphis's 3 Shadow Army. So you'll get the 1 search with your go-to grade 1 from the Ride deck, which is your Rotis. Having the search for that, then you just have to rely on getting that second last world order card for you to resolve the rest of the play. With the second one we are running in the deck being Howling Moonlight Knight. With this card having a same set order option for the setup, you play this card with the Soul Blast of 1 as well. When this card is put into your order zone, you draw a card, and then if your order zone has the world cards, the following effects resolve. If it's 1, it becomes Dark Knight. If it's 2 or more, your world becomes Abyssal Dark Knight. So you just need the 2 world cards set up to go with the Abyssal Dark Knight on the field. But more in preference, it comes down to what you want to play against your opponent. You will search out the In the Darkness Nobody Knows if you're going for more of a retire play against your opponent. If you just need draw power, if your opponent doesn't have a rear guard to play, then you'll search out the Howling Moonlit Knight, and then just rely on searching out the other card to then set up 2 in your order zone for the Abyssal Dark Knight. And that is it for the orders in the deck as well. Moving on to the trigger units. Going for, I thought of the 8 critical. If you wanted to run, not 8, 7, because don't forget we have the over trigger. I have the 4 Cardinal Draco in the deck, and I'm also running 3 Cardinal Draco AO Blood, but these can be taken out for the additional critical triggers if you have the Brandt start deck as well, for just more pressure with the critical trigger and your different units on the field, but player preference at that point also with the play you may want to go for. But still, it all comes down to the pressure. You may even want to go the front trigger lineup instead of the critical, but player preference with that lineup. I also run 4 of the Cardinal Fang draw trigger, more just hand consistency with this card, so you have a good number of cards to set up, either going defense against your opponent or just relying on, setup for your field next turn also. And for the heal trigger, running 4 of the Cardinal Prima Nibellum for the setup as just a generic heal, with the final spot in our deck being the over trigger, which is the Star Dragon Deity of Infinitude Eldo Breath. You only have 1 over trigger, like all the other over triggers in the deck, and the additional effect along with the 100 million is you double the power and critical of all of your front row units until end of turn. So this initial power can be a big power boost, especially depending on what you already have set up. If you revealed a critical, having that additional critical already can just go much farther because the doubled power and setup. So just good for the pressure all around with this card. If you gave a front trigger, doubling the front trigger's power can be immense, especially if your rear guards haven't attacked yet either against your opponent. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Definitely excited to actually even start playing some games on the channel using all of the different decks that I've been created. Just waiting for a couple friends to also finish their decks from the set, because then we can get a bunch of different matchups from all the different ones for overdress format we have ready to go. And until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.